Morning, guys. Wow, amazing to see so many people on the call. Morning, Bhavna. Morning, Parul. Morning, Viv. Morning, Mom and Dad dialing in from New Zealand. Wonderful to see you all on the call. Punctual. Love it. Parul, welcome back. Great to have you on after so long.
Morning.
Great. And I just want to share that I am sat here with my mom and father-in-law who are visiting us from Zambia. And so it's wonderful to have them on this call as well, listening in. And my own parents dialing in from New Zealand. Love our international community on these calls. All right, guys, it is 7 a.m. And so we're going to get started. A very warm welcome to every single one of you. Thank you for really taking time to choose to be on this call. At 7 a.m., what we stand for is disrupting the Monday morning blues and have it be Monday morning green, where we say, thank God it's Monday. Let's create our day. We have a choice in really either choosing life and creating it and bringing intentionality to every single thing we do, or being at the effect of it when we stand in an old paradigm, which is, oh, not Monday. And so that is the paradigm we're disrupting. Morning, Claire. Wonderful to see you on board and wonderful to see your 90-day challenge results. I've been seeing your posts all over on our FITBANKER campus, the Transforming a Billion Lives group. You're looking amazing. Congratulations. Final week of your 90-day challenge. Let's literally cause miracles. Well, you already are. So congratulations. All right, guys. So for those of you that are joining today's call for the first time, we have a YouTube channel with all of our calls recorded over there, the Monday morning calls. I'm happy to share it with you guys on our FITBANKER Transforming a Billion Lives group. And so you can look at former recordings and catch up on the series. But essentially what we're doing right now and what we've been doing for the past 4 weeks is the 5 Pillars of Life series. These calls have basically been running for the last 9 months now. And with this series, we're really looking at, if we look at our hand as our life and how we prioritize it, and every finger represents our important aspects of life, what we have is, if we divide them into 2 groups, external accomplishments and connection, right? And we spend majority of our existence focusing on our external accomplishments, which is education, career, professional titles, sport accomplishments, all stuff out there, extracurricular winnings. We spend so much of our energy and effort trying to master that and have that be our identity. However, on our hand, if we were to prioritize that, that is literally our pinky finger. That's what that represents. And yet we spend most of our existence focusing on all of these aspects, which are the external accomplishments. The other 4 pieces are connection, are more essential, integral aspect of our existence. And this is connection with the self, connection with family, connection with community, and connection with your purpose. And so for the last few calls, we've looked at education, connection with the self, connection with family, and today we are looking at connection with community. For those of you joining the call for the first time, these calls are very interactive. So would love to see all your beautiful faces, even if you've just rolled out of bed. Switch those cameras on, because seeing you makes my morning. And secondly, we'll ask you guys to share from time to time, so please feel free to unmute yourselves. So kicking off, community. It means so many different things to different people. I'm going to kick off with asking you guys, what do you understand by community? What does community mean for you? Good morning, Ronnie and Kanea dialing in as well from the bedroom. All right. So what does community mean to you guys? Claire, are you sharing?
Yeah, I guess it's like being part of your environment and being a contribution and care of your neighbours and doing things in the community. And it's, for me, it's kind of, I feel like when I'm part of a different communities, I feel really whole, and I like being a contribution, and it's really great.
Great.
And actually, it's what keeps London.
Say the last word again. It got cut.
It's what keeps me living where I live and doing what I do.
Brilliant.
You know,
so
really special.
Experience of what it's like to be in a community, and that's brilliant.
So yeah.
And when you hear the word community, what resonates instantly? What does that mean?
Yeah, I feel support and love and growth and contribution.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for that, Claire. Who else would love to share what community means to you? What do you understand by the word? What does it resonate with when you hear community? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. So for everybody joining the call for the first time, we invite you to unmute yourselves and share your ideas and share your thoughts. Have this be as interactive so that you get most value from it.
Hi, it's Viv here.
Hi, Viv. Morning. Lovely to have you on the call. What does community mean to you?
Community means to me it's having accountability partners, so that the things that you are working towards, there are other people who are aware of those things too. And when they're aware of them, it gives you that sounding board and that partnership.
Brilliant. Love that. And that's absolutely a great segue to how we're community on this call this morning. Thank you so much, Viv, for sharing.
Thanks for having me here.
Oh, love your energy, love your presence. It's what has us create community on these calls. And so thanks, guys, for sharing. The dictionary definition of community, there's two. One is a group of people living in the same place or having, sorry, bear me for a second. One is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. And that was what I thought community was growing up. That's how it related to community growing up. The second one is a condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. And over the years, the more we've been in the whole self-discovery, personal development space, I find what community means to me is gravitating towards the latter definition. So while we grew up in Zambia, lived in New Zealand, most of it was living with people in a same place, and therefore that became community. And yeah, there was some particular characteristic in common, whether it was our origination, where we came from. In many cases, it was Zambia or then New Zealand or India. Have never lived in India, but then being of Indian origin. However, as we've grown, communities shifted more to what our values are and where we're finding alignment in our values with the world out there and creating those respective communities. Now, many of us, when you wake up in the morning, you don't look at yourself, or I certainly don't look at myself as a whole community, as a whole army looking in the mirror. I see myself as a single individual. However, today I invite you guys to consider a different perspective, a different context. When you look in the mirror, consider that you are a community in yourself, right? What do I mean by that? Well, we're going to look at it at three levels: physical level, mental level, and the soul level. So at the physical level, how you came into existence is a sperm and an egg fused to create a zygote, which eventually became a baby. The accumulation of millions of cells working so beautifully in coordination, in sync, in unity, allow the creation of one larger existence, which was a human being. So externally, to our eyes and to the rest of the world, we may occur as one being, but under a microscope, we are many organs working together in sync, each managed by multiple cells. My former role and what I spent most of the past decade working on was as a biomedical scientist. So I did my PhD in obstetrics and gynecology and maternal health, specializing in pregnancy. And so I spent a lot of the time in labs, a lot of the time working, looking down microscopes, a lot of time doing research, biomedical experiments. And fascinating that even one cell, when it mutates, impacts the replication of cells in its community. And that then can cause various diseases, various issues, various complications that can completely alter the genetic makeup of somebody, or even their ability to then build immune systems, fight against diseases, or just be healthy or not healthy, as the way we tag them, simply with one cell mutating, which then has an impact on neighboring cells and then the organ and then the whole functioning of the body. And so that's what we're composed of at a physical level, right? So by no means single in any shape or form. At a mental level, there's constant stream of hundreds of thoughts. Any given moment, research shows that we have 70,000 thoughts per day. I found that fact and the statistic fascinating. That in itself sounds exhausting, but can you imagine that it's no surprise that with over 100,000 thoughts between us and any other person that we're engaging with on a daily basis, why it's difficult finding and making contact with each other? Because we're constantly filled with the noise and the dialogue up here that we often miss what's happening over here between us and another. The third aspect is the spiritual level. Like gravity, there is an electromagnetic energy that connects us, right? You don't see it, but it's there. You don't see gravity, but you know there's a law of gravity. Pick something up and drop it, it will fall to the bottom, right? So there's an electromagnetic energy that surrounds us, but there's equally a spiritual energy that connects us all. Morning, Kalpana. Morning, dialing in. I'm just going to request you to mute yourself. Morning, Smia. I can hear the bus. Perfect. Thanks a lot, Kalpana. All right. So at the spiritual level, similarly, there is an energy that connects us all. And whether we recognize it or not, we are an interconnected human race. And so why are we raised often with stories of single hero figures? Superman, Spider-Man, every other hero, Catwoman, whatever the hero is, whatever the gender is, whatever, the context is, but it shows up as singularity, as one being. And if you actually pause and look at it, with that kind of mindset, we're also then born and raised in schools where it's who's coming first, who's won this race, who's topped their test, who's gotten into that university, who's excelled in whether you're the best doctor or whatever else it is. We're always rewarded singularly. We're always rewarded as a single entity. The notion and the concept of a collective community winning doesn't ever come into existence. Yet the reason we are where we are is because of a collective force of energy. For me to get to where I am sat here today was by no means a single effort. By no means can I take credit for that. I was born, and my parents listening in on the call from New Zealand made tremendous effort, in raising us in the most comfortable environment in Zambia. Our education, our food, our shelter, everything was provided for. Friends, social circle, community, people we got to learn from, learn extracurricular activities from, travel around the world, travel and have fun and create new bonds and build new memories, cross continents, go to boarding school. All of that stuff was created in the space of others around us. Yes, school is created as a place where you go to learn. So much emphasis on exams, so much emphasis on tests. And yet my memory of school and my best memory of everything to do with school, all the years of school, was the fun that happened on the playground, was the fun that happened outside of the classroom, because that's where we got to be with one another collectively. That's where we got to experience ourselves as our greater self, because we were showing up as great amongst others, not singularly sat on my desk, trying to be better than the person sat next to me. I hope this is resonating, guys. It's really looking at disrupting how we've been born into a world where there's a single hero narrative, where there's a I need to win against others type of conversation. I am better than others, him versus me, her versus me and another. And when you park that aside and get how segregating that is, rather than integrating, then we realize why that narrative just doesn't work, right? And we go back and look at our conversation from last week around families and the week before around the self. If you almost picture concentric circles where our relationship to our self being at the heart of it, and then family, and then community, every single one of those layers becomes so critical when we understand we are the sum total of every being we've ever engaged with, right? So from education to relationships to career to even our existence here. And even if you look at not just milestones, but your day-to-day existence, for me to go from home to work, I get ready. Clothes I'm wearing have been weaved by people sitting in factories across different parts of the world, and then supplied here, and then sold by various stores, and then purchased and put in our closets. To get to work, I get on a train that's again been designed by several hundreds of people, engineers, actual laborers, operators. I get a building which is then constructed by several people. By no means am I solo in any shape or form. My ability to get from A to B is a product of an entire community working in sync. What does your community look like that's made you who you are and have you experience yourself the way you do today? Going back to the hero's narrative. Heroes didn't leap tall buildings or stop bullets with an outstretched hand. They don't wear boots and capes. What heroes look like in our day are those that have the ability to simply listen and love for another. Those are our heroes in our day-to-day life that you and I relate to outside of the big screen. Those are the people that come to our rescue. Those are the people we get to be when we're making a difference to another. Heroes are ordinary people like you and I that allow us to be the best version of ourselves. And when we can be the best version of ourselves, we get to contribute to one another. I love this because recently I came across on a coaching call, we are in part of another program, where when we hear this kind of stuff at times, our narrative in our mind says, I know. And the minute we say, I know, we sell out on listening to anything newly coming from a place of nothing, coming from a place of being a student. We then come from a place of, I kind of already know this stuff. And then half of our listening or most of our listening goes out of existence. But here's what I invite you to consider. That the minute you hear that voice say, I know this sounds familiar, brilliant. Ask yourself, are you implementing it? If you're implementing it, then ask yourselves, are you teaching it to another? If you're teaching it to another, then ask yourself, is the other person living it and implementing it? And if they are living and implementing it, ask yourself, are you empowering them to teach it on to another, and then another, and then another, so that we're creating a community that get to share our values, where we get to constantly be committed to being the best version of ourselves. About 4 years ago, Ronnie and I did this 3-month program. It was called Self-Expression and Leadership Program. It's part of this personal and professional development organization, training and development organization called Landmark, which is an international platform. And in that 3-month project, you get told you're creating a project that's going to make a difference to community. You start off the first day mapping on this big sheet A3, writing out all your communities. And I got so present to the different types of communities I had. For me, my community just kind of felt like my family, my inner circle of friends, people I hang out with. But the more we got coached, the more we got probed into really looking at all the different circles we hang out with. I had work, I had boarding school. I basically could fill out a whole A3 based on everybody or every group of people I've interacted with since existence. And that was fascinating to really get present to that being my community rather than, people I hang out with all the time. So that was the first aha. The second thing was we needed to create a project that's making a difference to community. Now, creating the project wasn't really the emphasis. The emphasis and training was you create the project, it may be your brainchild, but then you create leaders in your community who then take on the project. You kind of hand it over. And that part was so challenging because it's almost like the ego wants to have the self-gratification. It's my project. How can I hand it over to somebody else? And going back to my point is we only get to be our best version when we get to empower others to be their best version. And so if you create an incredible project and then create leaders in your community to step up and take ownership and lead that project, where you then get to step away, then that's success. Then that is you building or imprinting tribe mentality where everybody collectively gets to be their best version of themselves. And I found that project and that mindset so unique because it was taking away from everything I had ever grown up in. Every environment I grew up in was I adopt something. That was my whole PhD, right? My whole master's and PhD was I come up with a new discovery in the whole biomedical field. I publish those papers. I go to international conferences and say why my research was the greatest. And therefore, it creates a path for new clinical studies, new medical interventions to show up. But I'm at the source of it. And when you flip that, on its head, this leadership program is saying, remove the I from that and look at how we collectively are making a difference, was a phenomenal shift in a whole different mindset. And so on today's call, I really want you guys to look at what does the power of community look like where you're standing? Where do you sell out on ever experiencing the best version of yourself because you're so married to your individual accomplishments, to constantly putting yourself ahead of others, that you totally lose the magic, the love, and the power that is experienced as we, that is experienced as a community, that's experienced as a tribe that shares your values, that is so committed to Viv's point, and Claire touched on it as well, so committed to you being the best version of yourself. Now, I want to take you guys through a few minutes guided meditation. So whatever you're doing, whether you're on the bus, you're standing, you're sitting, if you just close your eyes, sit up straight, just get present to your surroundings. And even if you're on the train and even if you're on the bus, it's perfectly fine to close your eyes. I do meditation on public transport all the time. Let go of any concerns or any judgment of what will people think of me if I'm sat here closing my eyes. If you're sat in a room, even if you're walking, just pause. This will only take about 3 minutes. Take a deep breath in, right to the pit of your stomach, and exhale. Deep breath in. And exhale. Deep breath in. And breathe out. Now get connected to your consciousness within you. Most of us feel this in our head. Picture a white light emanating from your head, encompassing your whole body like a bubble. And the light represents peace, love, and joy. Picture this white light, this bubble that you're in, now emanating further, encompassing the room you're in, or the train carriage, or the pathway that you're walking on. A white light shining out, encompassing everything that it's passing through. Now feel the light expanding even further, encompassing the home or the entire vehicle or the road that you're on. A white, gentle consciousness emanating with love, peace, and joy. Feel the light expanding even further to your suburb. And now feel the light expanding to your nation. And then to your continent. This white consciousness light expanding across your whole continent. Embedding in it love, peace, and joy. And now picture this light expanding across the whole planet. And you're at the center of it. The light's covering the entire planet and it's emanating from you. And I want you to get that you are a piece of consciousness connected to every living form on this planet. Let that resonate. Let that reflect in. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. And now I'd love for you guys to press the unmute button and share, what are you hearing for yourself from today's conversation? What are you getting present to?
Hi, Ambika.
Morning, Smeya. Wonderful to have you on.
Yeah, so a lot of what you said today earlier was really resonating with me, and I was just like really nodding my head the whole time. So when you were talking about when you hear something, when you've been taught something and you think you know it, and then somebody else is talking about the same thing, and then you switch off straight away because you just assume. And I've done that. I'm like, and I think I just assume, oh, I know it. And then do you know what? I realize I haven't actually put into plan what that person said.
Yeah.
So like I make sure, like if it's a recording or a video or something, especially if it's on Facebook, I make sure I save those videos and then I just give myself a talking to, and then I go back. I might do a little bit of meditation or something, and I'll go back and listen to that video again.
Oh, I love it.
Because I realized that I haven't actually put into action what that person said.
I love it.
And sometimes I think if one person says it, and so you've listened to it, but when then somebody different says it, maybe you've resonated with that person a bit more.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, oh, and then you maybe like, if you're open to listening a bit more, you pick up something else that you didn't the first time. So it's always good to go back maybe 2-3 times to listen to something. That's what I've learned. And so when you were saying that, I was like nodding my head along, because it just really, I guess for other people as well, it must be the same, because I know I completely just sometimes switch off because I think, oh yeah, I know that, and really
I love that, Smeya. That's such an amazing example. I can relate to that 200%. So yeah. I was Ronnie and I have done a lot of, and continue to do a lot of coaching, and there was one 7-month program that we had done, which is called a leadership program, Introduction Leaders Program. And we did the 7-month program and then got qualified to be coaches on that program, and then went on to do 2 consecutive programs where we coached. So basically over the span of a year and a half. And the first time we did the program, we learned all the distinctions and everything. And then we did the program again as coaches, the STEM coaching participants in the program. And I remember sitting there thinking, this conversation sounds so new when the program leader was talking, because we're kind of listening to it absolutely differently. So context then becomes definitive, because we have so much judgment around the person who's ever communicating that we kind of miss out on what's ever, the verbal communication, because the non-verbal communication is so loud. And then even coaching the third time and multiple times beyond having those conversations, the same conversation by the same person, the same program leader, I would hear it differently. And sometimes I'll be like, do they change the curriculum? Because this sounds so brand new. But they haven't. It's just my listening has altered.
Yeah.
But I want you
It's
guys to
just the
consider
way, yeah.
that's how it is in our relationships, right? Somebody could be saying something to us over
Yeah.
and over and over again, and we just don't listen
Yeah.
or aren't listening because we're so filled with the noise in our head that we instantly disconnect from our community around us. So love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
this. It's such a beautiful.
That's okay. Thank you.
Hello. Huh?
Hi, Bali. Are you sharing something?
Hello. Yes, I wanted to say you asked about what is a community.
Yeah.
The word community itself is divided by two words. Common. What is common? The life is common. As you said, the light within us is common, and the love, which is common.
Love
And
it.
the word unity is there. Unity. We're all one, but we think we are different. And because we identify personality, we are not a personality. The personality is the, so our what is at different colors of people, different religions, religious people, and we say no religion, but so this is what I wanted to share. Community, the word itself, showing common and unity.
Thanks a lot, Bali. That's so amazing. So it is 1 minute over, guys, but I just want to recreate what Bali said, my father-in-law says, because I think it's so pertinent. And Bali, your connection was quite poor, but because you're in the other room, I can actually hear you. So I'm just going to recreate that for everybody on the call because it was so powerful. The word community, if you split it, it actually means common and unity. So what are the common shared values amongst us? Love and the light within us, with precisely the meditation we just did, and life. Those are common things, are common denominators. And the second part of the word is unity. It has us all be one, yet we relate to each other as separate entities. We're not. We are one entire existence. So whatever discriminates us, whether it's our gender, interests, values, ethnicity, where we come from, how we walk, how we talk, all of that stuff is all man-made discriminations. Actually, we are one. And I love that, Bali. Thank you so much for sharing that. So guys, we are 2 minutes on. Kiran, fantastic to have you on from Australia, our almost record breaker in our 90-day challenge. Love having you on. This is the tail end. We're actually signing off, so you'll be able to watch it on the recording. Big hugs to everyone dialing in this morning. Thank you for really listening in, for just getting so present and connected to the power of community and how it shows up for every single one of us. Reflect on today's conversations and really get present to where we allow the I to dominate and therefore sell out on everything, and shift that to stand in community, which is creating those tribes or nurturing those we already have, so that we get that we are really one consciousness connected through love, peace, and joy with everybody around us. Love you all. Have a phenomenal, powerful Monday, and speak to you all next week. Big hugs. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Amika.